Hey, friends and fam. I'm Nathaniel. Thanks for being here. I have never met a person I could not love. Just recorded a video. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a video I was going to post. It was a video that I was thinking, well, I'll try and do a video and see if it's something I want to post for my What the Fuck Do I Know podcast series. That's been on a bit of a sabbatical for a while, but just rewatched it a little bit. Been an emotionally raw day. It's been a bit of an emotional recording process. And honestly, the flow of tears that flowed from me while watching it confirmed for me. I gotta post it. I'm gonna post it unedited. I'm gonna post it raw. Not a fan of the AI algorithms that chop things up for me most of the time. So I'm just gonna let this be as it is. And if you got it in you to watch the full thing, cool. If you don't, it's all good. I love you. Because you know what? I have never met a person that I could not love. Have a beautiful day.
Picture the memory. Picture the memory.
Hey, friends and fam. Thanks for being here. I'm Nathaniel. I'm intending to record this for my first What the Fuck Do I Know podcast episode that I've recorded since I don't even remember. It's definitely been 3 or 4 months. Been taking a sabbatical and checking in with myself. Sarah, my dear friend Sarah, I love you, Sarah, is she's focusing on some other things right now. And thank you for making the choice for you, my dear friend. And amidst her choice, I have also been reevaluating for myself what I'm going to continue to do with this space. This What the Fuck Do I Know podcast space that I felt compelled to start. Which feels like I don't even remember when, but maybe about a year ago. And this winter, I definitely have stepped back. I live in Minnesota, and it's cold AF, and it's just been a interesting process this winter, of stepping back into some me time, some me space, really being fully present with my life space as it is. And I'm going to share with you one of my inner conflicts that I have with even sharing stuff at all on these internet spaces, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, I don't know. And all of this is the, I guess I'm going to use the term algorithm space, the algorithms and I guess, how do I describe it best? What first pops into my brain, this is one of the things I'm going to do today, is just periodically close my eyes, breathe, and share, because I've had an emotionally raw day, to be real. And in context of my emotionally raw day, I'm feeling compelled to record this video. It's a day where my internet's down. It appears that my internet is down due to the extreme colds in Minnesota right now. And it won't be back for another 3 days, which is kind of fun for me, actually, to have that break, the forced break of internet. Meaning, yes, there's still these mobile devices that I can use to do stuff on the grid, as it were, but not some of the others, all I've realized this week, all of my means to do any kind of movie watching or whatever is via streaming. I no longer have any machines in my space that have a medium that I can load into a machine and then play it on the screen. It's all from the grid. So, and even like recording this podcast episode, I realize I'm gonna look at the dot because that's where the camera is on this phone. That instead, because I use a service that uploads the video to the cloud as I speak, I'm gonna stop. I'm just gonna record it onto my phone and then upload it perhaps later when I'm back on a space that has grid to load it onto the format that I can use for the editing and whatnot, which is all cloud-based. And I'm emotionally raw today. As I stated, I guess my opener, I was debating back and forth. Do I want to share? Am I going to share, especially from this emotionally raw space that I am in right now? Taking another check-in breath. And I am. And then I started to question if I'm going to share, going to record a video, what am I going to record, what am I going to share, and all that and none of it felt right. None of it felt true. And I guess as far as navigating, like mapping it out beforehand. So true to my typical on-the-fly form, I have decided just to do this. There is one sentence I wrote down, though, in my notebook before that finally was the one sentence that I'm going to share with you as the crux of my share here today. And the sentence is, I have never met a person I couldn't love. I have never met a person, a human being, an individual on this planet, in this world, and that I could not love. Let's say it again. I'll say it multiple times probably throughout this, but I have never met a person, never met a human, never met another individual that I could not love. And I really, really take that to heart. And because that truly, truly is fundamentally, if I were to have a mission statement, in my life, that was that was really my underlying fundamental truth for me. That fundamentally is the truest of them all for me. I have never met a person I could not love. And I guess I'm just gonna stream of consciousness share this in this emotionally raw state that I'm in as I feel that truth of mine. And also I have a bit of a cold, so anyway, I digress. I started my day today with some screen scrolling and came across a podcast episode from one of my favorite Minneapolis hip-hop artists, Brother Ali. And when I do post this, I'll put the link to that podcast episode in the description for you to, if you're curious, if anyone watching this is curious to hear I guess it's my reference material. I'll cite it in my citation, the citing, to use anyway. This episode was Brother Ali. Brother Ali he wasn't born in Minneapolis, but he came up through the Minneapolis hip hop scene. And he has a podcast called Travelers Podcast. The Travelers Podcast, I believe is the name. And he sent some voice notes to his Minneapolis friend because Brother Ali no longer lives in the country. Brother Ali lives overseas now. And he was checking in with his old buddy, one of his longest friends, BK1, who's also another person, wasn't born in Minneapolis, but came up through the Minneapolis hip-hop scene. And the podcast episode was Brother Ali sharing 3 voice notes that his friend BK1 shared in response to Brother Ali's questions, asking, "Hey brother, how's it doing? How's it going in Minneapolis? I'd love to hear the real of how you, my dear friend, are truly doing and what's truly what you're experiencing in our mutually beloved place known as Minneapolis, Minnesota." And it was the beginning of my day of noticing that I haven't allowed space for me to feel. To be real, in this podcast episode, BK1 himself got emotional and got really raw and started to tear up and express and then in the conclusion, the voice note shared that as he noticed that he needed to step and allow the flow of his emotions flow, as he was sharing his reel with his dear friend Brother Ali, that he, with all he's been active with and all he's been doing, and he's a very active person, street level, with the communities in Minneapolis, and he hadn't allowed himself space to grieve, space to feel in his action mode. And that was really beautiful and really huge moment for me. And it helped me open up to also notice that, holy shit, I'm not sure I've allowed myself the space to feel and grieve the real of the experience of living in such close proximity to, and I'm not stating this from any of all I'm talking about is the real human experience of the real, of the chaos, the insanity that is stirred up. And it's I do live in a bit of a bubble. I no longer live in South Minneapolis. I grew up in South Minneapolis. I live in the outskirts. I live like 40 minutes from where you could say the action is, the heat of the action. And so I do live in a bit of a bubble. I'm going to be true to that and say that I have a lot of love for Minneapolis and a lot of love for growing up in Minneapolis. And I don't buy into any of the fear narratives, to all of that how horrible, whatever. Anyway, I don't buy into any of the fear narratives and the rhetoric. And I don't pay it. In a lot of the ways I do that is by just simply not paying attention. And I do get information and shares verbally from people I know, and do my best to filter out any of the narratives of what's a conservative ideal, what's a liberal ideal, what's all that stuff is the political, divisive, socially argumentative spaces. And I have gone dark on the, when I say dark, turned off a lot of my interaction with social media over the last 3 months in general, even before this current ICE activity and everything that's going on. And a lot of my practice of that space is reminding myself of how important it is to allow our nervous systems the space to breathe. And so much of our social media spaces, so much of our news media spaces, so much of our even interpersonal conversational spaces seem to be in the stir to a degree that it forgets to pause and forgets to allow for the breath and the breathing and the real self-regulation of our nervous systems to have the space it needs to breathe and allow for peace within ourselves. And I shared in part of my conversation with Matt Owens on his called the Misfits podcast. What's up, brother? I did write a caption on one of my shares I did this last week on my story shares, resharing one of our parts, our snippets of our conversation, saying that I really do feel that supporting our inner peace is really, truly also a fundamental way of supporting world peace. And I feel one of the challenges of that is being real, being true with the elements of our lives, the what is, the is, that is, and that be, that do poke at, activate, stir up our nervous systems. And I fundamentally believe and feel that being true and real to what does feel intense, what does feel chaotic, what does feel, doesn't mean denial of that space of the noise that activates what feels like noise. There are so many individual, personal level experiences in context of that noise I guess is where I'm walking towards, where I'm walking to on this. That I was reflecting this morning a bit on so much of what we see and share and experience on these screens doesn't truly share the real experience of the fundamental human experience for each individual. And there's really, it feels the conundrum or the contradiction of that, or is it even a contradiction? There's just no way any of us can really watch someone else's experience and truly understand the feeling of that experience to them, right? However, what we can do is notice how seeing and the observing what is shared of others' experiences and noticing within ourselves what that brings up and stirs up within ourselves. And for me, what it fundamentally helped me walk back towards today via some more screen scrolling of different stories of what people are experiencing and different perspectives of what, all of that. The gift for me that I experienced for myself is it helped me walk right back to the sentence. I have never met a person, I have never met a human being that I could not love. And I'm going to be real with y'all that also includes the ICE agents that are on the street collecting. I know it colors the experience, but it does. The experience feels that way as I have looked at some screen scrolling today. That ICE agents collecting people, collecting people, and I truly feel in my heart, individually, each one of those people, if I were to sit down and have a conversation over some coffee, tea, some tasty food we both enjoy, I can pretty much guarantee you that at some point I will look that person in the eye and feel love for them. And that, for me, is the best I can do and share in the context of this what feels intense and chaotic socially intense, chaotic activation stuff in our communities. And I just fundamentally, that's what I mostly want to share today, is that for me, that's what I keep going back to. That's what keeps me grounded. That's what keeps me, this sentence. And that's what brings the tears as well for me, because there's an element of trust I have to live that includes letting go and trusting that all of these individuals living the individual experiences they're living on the street level of their experiences reaction to actions and actions that have reactions, and the bouncing and the ping ponging and the on a fundamental level, each one of these individuals and I do often practice this myself in my own quiet spaces when I choose to remind myself I could use a quiet space to do this. Not saying I always remember, but when I do remember, to breathe and sit and allow myself moments of truly feeling love for each individual person, truly feeling love for each individual human being. Siphoning out all the noise of every individual human being's perspective or in context of their lives, in context of their choices. I've never met a person, I've never met a human being that I could not love. Sometimes I've described that genuine life experience of mine as a pain in the ass. It's been a real pain in the ass for me before, yeah. But each moment, even in context of my own life, living that experience that I have lived of my own version of feeling, noticing how there truly has not been a single person that I could not love in my own experience, even when they challenge me. That the truest way for me to share my love with those people in my immediate life more and more has come to a place where it also includes me learning to live that love for them in ways that also are self-supporting of me and myself and my nervous system, myself, my own nervous system, but also trusting that all the choices I make in context of those interactions with those that challenge me, in context of the love I have for them, includes all these other words that sometimes can feel so difficult to truly feel in context of the challenging moments, like acceptance for who they be, acceptance, trust that it's not for me to change others. It's only for others to change or choose change for themselves, whatever that change may be. trusting that as I share that combination of loving them and loving them from the space of learning more and more about myself and what being true to myself and being truly showing love for myself on a fundamental level, potentially even creating conflict in context of that interaction. But it's not my choice in context of that conflict that creates the conflict, right? It's if there's conflict. The best I can do is love, accept, trust, and appreciate that every person, every human is making the choices that they know best to make in context of their own space, perspective, and on a continued individual basis. That I live, trust that the more I live from my own truth in the space of that, those spaces, supports the whole, supports contributes, adds to, all these words, they feel so silly, but that love. Before I started recording this today, I even was asking myself, well, what's the point? Why? Why do I even want to record a video and share it with people? Isn't it enough just to live the me I be in context of the being the is space that I live? And be that be I be continue to be on an individual basis with the individuals that I encounter in my daily life. Trusting that those interactions, that it truly does, that it is all symbiotic. That's how I feel. It's all symbiotic, meaning mutually supportive is another summary, I guess, of that word I'm going to use for now. That trusting that if I just continue to do my best to love each individual that I encounter and experience in my present life space from day to day, trusting that if I allow myself space to accept and trust and feel, notice the moments that I do notice that I do love those individuals, however they challenge me and challenge my love for them, that ultimately is the truest way to spread the love. So why do a video? Why post a video on YouTube? Why continue with what the fuck do I know? I'm going to segue into a conversation on that. I also ultimately feel that so much of this world right now feels powerless to the algorithms, powerless to the AI, powerless to the technology, powerless to these social media formats. It's so easy to feel that powerless feel. And I guess I do this to reclaim that space, to reclaim these spaces, that ultimately these spaces, while they're ultimately run by huge corporations who are, often fixated on advertising dollars or whatever. I'm not even clear on how all the income streams that they get, whether it be advertising dollars and information gathering, that they share information and then get paid for the information. I don't even. It's all pretty unreal to me, in a way. That I refuse to feel powerless in this space. I refuse to feel like screen scrolling needs to be doom scrolling. I refuse to feel that if I'm going to post anything, it needs to be bought in or under the expected rhythms and patterns of what it takes to generate numbers and generate followers and generate likes and generate engagement and yada yada yada. I'm here to be the human I be. I'm going to be the human I be, and I currently live in a life space that these digital spaces are part of that. And I've developed so many great, incredible interpersonal friendships via the use of these digital spaces. It's impossible not to experience the bullshit as far as of realizing that you're engaging with an AI as if it were a human, and then you realize, holy shit, this is an AI and it's not a human, and I'm engaging with it like it is human type moments, which is a whole nother conversation. But I also have really truly developed really great friendships and really great people in my life that are all over the world thanks to these social media spaces. And I do refuse to feel that powerless to the algorithms of the social medias feel. I believe in my heart that just like when I was a kid growing up, trying to be a musician, trying to be a local musician, and so many musicians back when I was a child there was that formula of get your band together, tour the country, do the van tours, develop the audience, and get a large enough audience until you would have a large enough following that the big labels would then step in and help promote you and build you up to an even bigger artist type concept, the indie. But then musicians started to realize the powerlessness of signing to the larger labels, and then more and more artists started to create their own labels and yada yada yada. I mean, that whole element to things. And then ultimately it also seemed that a lot of those indie labels got bought up by the large labels. But my point is on the human level, in the human experience, there's always an indie level of expression. There's always an indie. When I say indie, I mean independent. There's always an independent level of expression in the creative expression of humans that is there. And I truly feel that indie level of expression can still be here in the context of these social media spaces that are not reliant on the algorithms. TBD. No, I'm fine if I post and it only gets to like nobody. I'm fine if I share a video and it only gets to, I don't know, a couple people. I'm fine, and I just trust that if it is to ever gather more followers, that those are truly, that it happens despite the algorithms that are trying to nudge me towards a codependent dynamic with the digital spaces, meaning like I did do a lot of watching when I started the podcast of how podcasts build up their podcasts. And so much of that formula didn't feel true to me. And it didn't feel true to me because I'm too, I'm too cool for that. I'm, whatever type vibe, which can sometimes be there as far as the indie mindsets. But it was more of I'm not here to generate advertising dollars for, and if it means that I don't ever get beyond 10 or 9 or 7 followers on the tube or in the Spotify or in the Instagrams or whatever, it's all good. Because I truly do feel that, I don't know. We are our own algorithms as human beings. We're our algorithm. And I'm here to support the algorithm of us humans being human. And that's what I want to do. So, as I conclude my share here today, I'm going to share with you, first of all, one more time, that my main subject point of today's recording, that I've never met a person that I could not love, never met a human individual that I could not love. And I would love to have real human, we'll call it face-to-face, but if that face-to-face means digitally face-to-face, so be it. Conversations about being the humans we be. And I have no agenda other than I gotta love. I gotta share my love by expressing my love. And I would love to love you in context of a conversation with you, if you're open to it, about anything. I'm even willing to dive in the tough conversations, the divisive conversations. I'm up for it. I would love to have those kind of conversations, as well as this is what inspires me conversation, as well as all of the conversation is, because all the conversations are part of all of the experience of being these humans we be. And so anyone comes across this and is interested in having a really human conversation about whatever the human conversation becomes or turns into, or maybe is intended to be and then flows into something that maybe it didn't intend to be, or whatever, just trusting the flow of really sharing moments with each other, conversating with each other on a real level of just genuine appreciation, genuine love, and genuine trust that ultimately I've never met a person, never met a human that I could not love, however challenging it can be sometimes. Love you. Thanks for being here. Truly, truly, thank you for being here.